First, stand up, please. Stand up. Come on, stand up. Come on. Easy, right? That's from chaos, we make order. Simple. Okay, now hands up. Hands down. Okay. And now, thank you. And I'll begin. Okay, thank you. I wanted to start with Prince. I wanted to start with, I've seen the future and it will be. So afterwards, okay, go out and listen to that. Listen to the Prince song and you'll understand that I was hoping to be able to pierce the distance, because there's a big distance here. And I don't like that distance very much, particularly since what I'm talking about is something that we have inside us. And when I talk from a distance, it doesn't really touch who you are and what you are, because I'm just giving you words. And words are not enough. So I wanted to be able to bridge the gap by using Prince. And I said up here, there's no way to know where we're going, but we can become futures literate. And really what I'm talking about here is this idea that there's a fundamental difference between thinking about the world in terms of goals, in terms of where you want to go, the mountain you want to climb, and a capability, a competency, the ability to read and write that opens doors, that opens your mind. And futures literacy is really this kind of capability. It's a capability which allows us to see the world differently. And it's not something that's very strange or foreign, it's something that's very everyday, because all of us use the future, all of us imagine the future all the time. We can't get up in the morning. We get dressed. We imagine if it'll be cold, if it'll be warm. We use our imagination to pay attention. I imagine there's a predator. I imagine there's a car coming because I see it coming, and I imagine it will be here so I don't cross. Our survival depends on being able to anticipate. A baby cries to be fed. But we don't remain children in a protected environment where we're testing. Does this hurt? Does that hurt? Can I step here? How do I use my hands, my arms? We don't remain children. Humans have a very long period of safety, of maternal and paternal protection. And in that world, we anticipate, but we anticipate benevolently. We anticipate with certainty, and we become accustomed. We become accustomed to saying, oh, if I do this, this will happen. And it's safe. And in our minds, we build up an approach, a way of thinking that says, feeling safe is feeling certain. And then you become an adolescent, and you go, oh my God, I don't know anything about what's going on. Why doesn't it work? I go to the party, I have the best shoes, Nike or Adidas or whatever, but 5 other people have the same shoes, and everybody thinks I'm silly. Oh no, that's a catastrophe. I had no way of knowing. How come I couldn't predict what would make me popular, what would make people think I'm, at the top? And so we encounter the incredible openness of our universe. We encounter the creativity of the world around us. And just at that moment, what happens? You have to perform on the test. The teacher knows the answer. If you don't get the test right, your life is over because you won't go to a good school. If you don't get to a good school, you won't get a good job. If you don't get a good job, you won't have a good life. And so you're right away on a highway, on a railroad track. So don't think about ambiguity. Don't question how you imagine. Only use your imagination to eliminate creativity and uncertainty. Act as if the world was repeating itself over and over again, so the things you already know will happen in the future. And what happens there is you also become quite disturbed by difference. When you encounter something different, you say, now wait a second, it's not the same. So I couldn't know what this person was like, what their culture was like. And you say, I'm supposed to be able to predict. Why didn't you prepare? Why didn't you get everything ready so that if there was a pandemic, there are always pandemics. Why weren't you ready for a pandemic? And the Queen once asked the economists, why don't you eliminate crisis? No surprises. This universe is made up of surprises. What would life be like without surprises? And so the question becomes, how do we begin to integrate into our thinking, into our way of seeing the world, the fact that the universe is creative, that we are constantly exposed to things that we cannot name, that are on the periphery of our vision. We're inventing things that we don't even understand, and we're trying to understand others that we can never be like, and we can never see the world the way they do. I'm a man, an old man, a white man from the north. Can I understand the point of view of another person? I can have empathy, sympathy. I can listen. I can look for the dividing line and the borders and see if there are things and ideas that cross. But I'm not them and they're not me. That means it's to be discovered, to be created, to be jointly created. And that approach to the world gives us a very different perspective on change. It gives us a very different perspective on fear. I did have some slides. I'll go through them quickly. But I don't want to, I felt, since I've been here and listening, I really feel there's too much fear happening. And I think fear is political. It's not neutral. Because fear serves the existing political agenda. Fear makes people defensive. Fear makes us run away, look for shelter. So I feel that kind of seeding, encouraging fear is really not where I'm at. I don't want to be part of that. That doesn't mean that I think that I know what's going to happen or that the future is going to be good or bad. I have no idea about the future. And to be perfectly blunt, I don't care about the future. What I care about is what I imagine. If I imagine horrible things, Frankenstein comes back to kill me, existential crisis of intelligence. I think we heard already it's nothing to do with intelligence, but that's a good marketing ploy because it generates fear. Fear of change, fear of being dominated. The dominator becomes dominated. We'll get the revenge of our tools. So I don't want to be a fearmonger, but I don't want to be either an ideology monger, because what I'm really talking about is moving from a goal-oriented perspective on the world and on life to a capability-based perspective, which allows our ethics and our morality to be embedded in our actions in the present. And to understand that the future that we imagine shapes our perception. Don't get confused. The future, everybody thinks it's about choice. How will I determine and control the future? The future is first about perception, what you can see, what you can understand, what you can sense and make sense of. If I ask you to choose blah, 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 you say, huh, what? What's blah, 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 blah? I don't know. How can I choose it if I don't know? So you have to be able to sense and make sense. And the future, that imaginary that we have, because the future does not exist. Nobody can go there. There's no data. We're all equal. That imaginary future will turn my attention this way or it will turn my attention that way. And the crucial question is, how do I open my attention and understand that the world is amazingly creative and full of things I do not know? And how can I invite not knowing permanently, constantly into my life? Because every moment there are things we don't know. You know you're sitting here now, but you don't know what you're thinking. You don't know what will happen in your mind. You don't know how what you're doing right now will change what you do tomorrow. You have no idea. And it's wide open, and you don't control it. It's not like we should be able to play God with our futures. It's being simultaneously in the world and simultaneously in the openness of not knowing. So I did have something on, birth and death, polycrisis and opportunity. It's quite important, and one of the reasons I think that we're stuck to a certain extent is that we have this kind of fetishism of immortality, but that causes all sorts of different problems. So we have this really amazing opportunity. This is our time. 1939 was another time. 1968 was another time. Right now we're in 2026. We're alive now. And our being alive now is we have a message from the planet. The planet is holding up a mirror, and that mirror says, you destroy your own home. Well, yeah, sure, maybe you do, and things will happen. But it tells a story about us, and we can then interpret that story, and we can tell that story in different ways. But it's an opportunity to take a non-ideological message. Non-ideological in the sense that there's no human who said this is the best idea. It's not Lenin or Trump, it's the planet. The planet is saying something. What we do with it, we'll see. We have a collapse of institutions, norms based on massification, the inadequacy of hierarchy. We have nostalgic futures and sectarian faith. We have a backlash against change. I think one of the things to understand fundamentally is that it is very difficult for our species in most parts of the world to give up the idea that men dominate. This is not an easy thing to do. It's very uncomfortable in all sorts of different ways. Of course, I think it's a very good thing, but that doesn't mean that it's an easy thing or that there aren't all kinds of side effects that we don't understand. There is currently fear and backlash, reaction, a reactionary movement against that fundamental power shift. Our rituals are empty. We need rituals because they curate our identity. Why do we celebrate birthdays? You celebrate a birthday, you put in a marker. The marker goes into your memory becomes who you are. We need these things. But today, weddings, even funerals, national celebrations, it's just a party, expensive party. Where does the curation come? Where does the idea of who am I and why does this mean something? The transition from tangibles to intangibles, it was touched upon a little bit by Maurizio before. I did work on this in the 1970s on the idea that we were moving to an immaterial world. So think about it, it's pretty logical. Capitalism, industrial society, increases productivity. Productivity is primarily productivity of physical objects, right? So you increase the productivity of physical objects, the number of farmers goes from 40-50% down to 5-3-2%. Physical production declines. Immaterial production, well, it's harder to make a market with immaterial production. Some of it can be digital. But there's a crucial question here about knowing. If I want to create something that fits my taste, I need to understand how to create it. I become the creator. This is a very significant inversion of the command and control system of Taylorism. So there's lots of really interesting changes taking place in the world around us. But I want to just touch, and I only have like 3 minutes, about the seductiveness of the totalitarian imagination. And I'll go through this really quickly. Can we imagine less colonization of our imagination and less effort to colonize the future? Totalitarian hope and the poverty of the imagination, why futures literacy. So there's a lot of text here. I'll read it quickly. There is no doubt that the prospect of restoration of the past, promises of continuity and familiarity rather than discontinuity and difference, fantasies of stasis, narratives of order, expectations of obedience, elimination of surprises, and the ease of belonging nourished by conformity are all highly appealing. Hey, yeah, I'll buy that. I can just relax on the beach. Nobody will disturb me. Where does it come from? Such yearnings are not always stoked or offered by a pinnacle leader or a single book or a dominant organization. Such hopes can be kindled easily enough by the preposterous maelstrom of experience, moments when violence, catastrophe, defeat, death, or even astounding good luck pulverize the quotidien and shatter our frames and knock us off our habitus. Fear. Yeah, we're going to get them to accept the totalitarian imagination. Papa will take care of me, no problem, because we're frightened. What happens then? Do we curse the universe and invoke the dervishes of control, guardians and guarantees of normalcy? Do we relinquish our hope to any behemoth committed to abolishing uncertainty? Do we embrace glorious leaders, narratives, or cabals that gleefully or regretfully claim they've got the solutions that crush, eliminate, extinguish in its cradle any inklings of expression of deviation? Tolerant attitudes and rights in a universe characterized by diversity and constantly emerging difference are still no guarantee of a willingness or desire to be disturbed, disrupted, thrown off the path of continuity, conformity, and dominance. You see where I'm going. If you don't have the competency, if you can't read or write, you're going to be scared of the book, because the person who can read and write has a superiority over you. You feel inferior. If you can't understand the character of the future in the sense of our imagination and the diversity of our imaginaries, you're really in a position of fear. Improvement is a form of continuity. We will improve capitalism. Hatred is a form of denial of difference. I hate you because you're different. Fear is often the spark of closure. So, thus, the birth and resilience of totalitarian hope is not confined to the brutal or those deprived of their capacity for empathy. It's not Trump's fault. The bully, the evildoer, it's something that springs eternal from within the tender, vulnerable mortality of our species. There, the banality of evil can grow. Hannah Arendt, we all know the story. Death is not defeat. Death is not because you're a loser. Death is generous. Death opens up birth. Lightness, being good compost and not imposing, is generous, is creative. So the antidote, and I'll go very quickly, and I'm over time, is to get beyond monumentalism. And we've been doing this for a long, long time, monumentalism. Administration, bureaucracy, command and control, goal setting, immortality. The pharaohs were immortal. That was a really powerful way of thinking, because for 3,000 years, people helped them maintain all those pyramids and all those tombs. We want to colonize the future. We're so strong. We can do anything. We're going to colonize the future. Revolution, atomic bombs, going to the moon. There's a problem here. It's a fundamental problem. It's a problem that has to do with the way we're thinking about the world. Now, this looks really scary, but what would you do if you're a policymaker, a scientist, if you're looking for certainty? I need to know for certain when we're going to fall off the edge so that I can turn around and get away from the edge. There's no edge. It's not there. It's a paradigm error. There is no way to eliminate novelty in this universe. That's the universe we live in. We are not separate. We're not outside. We're not superior. We do not, contrary to Silicon Valley, create the future. Okay? I'll go quickly. There's some problems with the future, and we can solve them. But this is what futures literacy is about. We use the future for different reasons in different ways in different contexts. Knowing how to do so is the definition of futures literacy. It's about walking on two legs, understanding anticipation for the future and anticipation for emergence. It allows us to be better at repetition and difference, continuity and ephemerality, planning and improvisation, legacy and spontaneity, generality and specificity. These are not minor things. Getting better at dealing with all of these really matters. So here's the end. What difference does it make? This is the Ptolemaic system. The sun goes around the earth. This is the Copernican system. The earth goes around the sun. Now, does it matter to any of you where the sun happens to be? No. What difference does it make? You wake up in the morning, you're a farmer, well, who cares where the sun is? But we know it changes what we see. It changes what we imagine. It changes what we resist. It changes what we preserve. It changes how we preserve what we want to preserve. It changes the conditions of change. I'll leave you with this. It's from Lao Tzu. It's from the Tao. Translation by Ursula Le Guin. Everybody on earth knowing that beauty is beautiful makes ugliness. Everybody knowing that goodness is good makes wickedness. For being and non-being arise together. Hard and easy complete each other. Long and short shape each other. High and low depend on each other. Note and voice make music together. Before and after follow each other. That's why the wise soul does without doing, teaches without talking. I've been talking a lot. The things of this world exist, they are, you can't refuse them. That's the realism that we heard about from Maurizio. To bear and not to own, to act and not lay claim, to do the work and let it go, for just letting it go is what makes it stay. This is my last slide. This is the image of leadership and the future in today's world. Does this look like a good idea? Anybody want to try it? How we anticipate matters. It changes the present. Thank you.